Shalom family, how y'all doing today? I am Dawid Yehuda. This is my wife.
Hope not.
We wanted to come back and just follow up the last video that we did. We have just been sharing, having conversations about where we are as a people, conversations about where we are as a family. It's really, really important that we constantly do assessments. You have to assess where you are to see what areas you need to build up, what areas you're secure, and that comes from just constant evaluation. And you have to have all of your family on board. You have to have your wife on board. Your wife needs to know, let's just say if you're dealing with food, your wife needs to be on board to know the food levels that you have. Are you secure in your water? Are you secure in your power? All of these things we kind of evaluate as a family, which I encourage you guys to do as well. Traditionally or typically when I come on, what I discuss is patriarchy, which is the area that I've been authorized to speak in by my chief elder, the Honorable Thomas Murray. So I just kind of like stay in that vein. And so whenever I do speak, I definitely just give all praise to the Most High, thanking him for the voice and for a platform, thanking him for his anointed sinless son. I also thank him for my fathers. I am Dawid Yehuda. I am the son of William, who was the son of Daniel, who was the son of Freeman, who was the son of George. I honor the Most High for these men because they made me who I am today. I stand on the shoulders of these giants, which allows me to see beyond where I am because of who they are. And I hope that makes sense. So what I want to talk about today real quick was I was reading the scriptures and something just really jumped out at me. And it was in the book of Malachi. Malachi, the 4th chapter, it would be the last chapter of what they would call the Old Testament of the canon. We don't necessarily acknowledge that or believe that, but it's the last chapter and the last verse because what sparked this is we were having a conversation about prophecy, kind of like where we are. And everybody knows what's going on, right? We don't even want to verbalize the C word because
might get taken down.
Yeah, so we know where we are, but if you look at a lot of the current events, if you look at that coupled with all the wildfires, the earthquakes, the floods, it's just temperatures. Yes, I just read an article that says that they had the hottest July on record. The hottest July. Now, my wife said, like, huh? it didn't make sense to you.
Because to me, it hasn't been hot here, at least not here in Georgia.
Right.
It's been very rainy, though. We had a lot of rain, but could be what they call the dog days of summer.
Right. So that's kind of like the myopia of what most people see through. We only look through the lens of what we see, and that's why you have to pull back a couple levels and see, well, you know what, I may be secure. I may be experiencing cooler, best time ever, cooler temperatures than ever. Like we were saying, like this has been an atypical July, August, summer, but all around in other places of the world it's scorching. Siberia's on fire right now. And the fires that are in Siberia are larger than all the fires in California, Canada, over the world combined. So that's kind of like the backstory of what precipitated this conversation and me reading this text. And what the text says in Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5, it says, "Behold, I will send Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yah." Now, some people may say, well, when did that happen? The Messiah said, if you can receive it, that Elijah has already come in the form of John the Baptist. So he said that Elijah will come before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Most High. It did now in Hebrew, in the Israelite tradition, I would say, when we look at the text, the coming before, all it has to do is proceed. It can proceed by a day or by 2,000 years. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be accurate in the documentation of the account, right? So before that comes, Elijah is going to come before the great and dreadful day of Yah. And check it out, verse 6. It says, and he, that's a pronoun referring back to Elijah, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with the curse. Now that thing just kind of like, it resonated to me and it spoke to me on multiple levels. And for the sake of time, I'll just look at, because we kind of like position this conversation in terms, prophetically, and what we're trying to deal with or what we're experiencing, patriarchy even has greater value to me because I see that it's in the text. I see that fathers are reconsidering, reevaluating their role in the house. You know what I mean? They're looking at their relationship with their children, with their wife, with everything that has come from them and connected to them. And their heart is turning back to them. Meaning, inheritance is one element. That because my heart is for my son and for my daughter, now I have to consider, what am I leaving them? Am I leaving them something beside my last name? Does that make sense? I hope that I'm being very, very clear, is that my heart is for my lineage. Lineage is key.
Your children's children.
Your children's children. Now in the book of Proverbs, it says that a good man leaves an inheritance to who?
His children's children.
So that has to be a part of our process and how we're operating.
Your
Go ahead.
Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know a few words.
Right. Purpose. Purpose.
That's your purpose.
Yeah. Is leaving that inheritance to ensure that each generation gets better. They don't have to start over again and again and again. And also for those children to understand that they now have a responsibility to follow the edicts, to follow the directives of that man who has turned back to the Father, and now his heart has been turned back to them, because the Heavenly Father has always had a heart for his children.
So do you think, I'm sorry.
No, even when we did wrong, but go ahead.
So you think that it would be, if a man and his son are, properly connected, if the son views him in the way that he should, and the son understands, sees the father working hard to provide, sees the father doing all these things for the family. Do you think that it further encourages the son to maintain his father's legacy by, making sure that he doesn't let what his father built crumble, even if he, just maintains what his father had? And sometimes you see, a son takes over and takes it to another level, because the younger can understand, the way of this world and technology and all that kind of stuff, and they can boost it to another level. So you think that it's important for that son to, you pretty much shadow his father and see these things.
No,
do you?
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And one thing that I've always shared with you guys, that if what you're trying to do can be accomplished in your generation, it's not the Most High. Because the Most High speaks throughout space and time. Sometimes we think too small. It should be, kind of daunting. The task that the Father has for us, where it is multi-generational, and when the heart of the Father turns back to the children, what we then are trying to do is create an heir. And that is a lot of the lost message of the Messiah. The Messiah was a son. He was an heir.
So are you saying that an heir isn't just a child born to a man?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, it's much deeper.
What are you asserting?
I'm asserting that it's more than just blood. That you can have a child and that child not even belong to you.
Even if he came from you.
Even if he came from you, that child could belong to the world. Because the mindset, the thoughts of that child echoes the dominant culture versus what you're trying to instill in him, which is the other component. He's going to turn the heart of the children back to the Father. Now,
so what you're saying is that it's a true reproduction beyond just the biology.
Beyond the biology, because it's intended to be perpetuated and experienced from generation to generation. It has to be a symbiotic relationship where one turns to the other and they look at each other, and it should be a mirror. So when the Messiah says, when you've seen me, you've seen my Father. Why? Because me and my Father are one. He was an heir. Thomas said, you know what? It suffices us if you show us the Father. He said, man, you don't know the Father, and you hadn't even seen his shape. But then you go to, Colossians, and it says that he was the express image of his person. Literally, this son, this heir, was everything that the Father was. Now, what I'm contending in, what I'm submitting to you, is that a son cannot have, and the children cannot have, that level of actuation and submission to that Father without a good mother. That mother has to direct that child back to the Father, because the mother relationship is automatic, it's instinctive. Now, you're the mother of my children. You've loved them, nurtured them, cared for them, breastfed them, and you've not only them, the other sons that I have that did not come from you, you've nurtured them and helped to build them up, and you directed them back to their Father. How important is that?
I think it's very important. I think it is necessary that in order for them to really be fully developed and as men, or as the type of men that they should be. So because of the level of respect, so I think that it's natural for a young man to want to be with his father.
Right.
I think that. And I think women have to stop with their emotional outbursts, putting children in the middle of things and causing so much damage to children, because it's this duality in their thoughts. Because like you said, they're naturally going to, especially a son, he's going to want to protect his mother. He's going to want to, be everything that she complained she didn't have. So you end up having these young men who are really taking on responsibility, almost like a husband to their mother.
Oh yeah. Or a boyfriend.
Or a boyfriend or something, and she has this misplaced it's kind of gross, kind of not anything inappropriate, but it's a different kind of molestation of the mind that they do to, if you're really doing all these wonderful things as a mother. And I was raised by a single mother, so I know the struggle, but I wasn't raised by a bitter single woman, so that's a difference.
It is.
So when you're raised by a single woman who spews venom at the father, she's spewing the venom at the child, because the child is the father. So if I'm sitting telling my child how much your father is trash. If it wasn't for, you know, if he was here, we wouldn't be going through this. But the fiber of this father is inextricably. You cannot extract that from the child. So you're basically telling me you hate half of me. And that's difficult. So their whole life they end up trying to appease and overcome this innate deficit that they feel that they really should never feel. And it's because of the mother and her bitterness and the things that she said in her moments of weakness or whatever. And you don't really think anything about it, but your child is a sponge. It absorbs everything when they're young.
Right, they are. Absolutely.
So I don't even know if I answered the question. I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, you speaking truth to power. That's something that we need to hear, because so many times that process of the child's heart going back to the father can be interrupted and severed with a cruel and a bitter word from the one that he's come to love and adore.
It's unnecessary because it's already going to be there. Unless you're putting out cigarettes on their back or burn them with an iron on the forehead. They're still going to love the mother.
Yes.
You know, it's easy to turn away from the father. It's easy for some reason for them. And I think it still bothers them because at the core of it, that's who they want to be.
And they tell themselves, they convince themselves that I don't need him. When that is the medicine for your soul right there. You need your father more than you know. So on this channel, I've encouraged men, go back, heal the relationship, or establish the relationship with your father, because you may only have one side of the story. You're incomplete. You're not whole. And that incompleteness you'll transfer to the next generation and to men that want to serve you, or they look up to you as a leader. You'll end up being broken and you'll communicate that brokenness to them. I've seen it time and time again, because a leader can never nurture you and build you beyond his own limitations. I've seen it. Yeah. Even in the what we call like the Israelite tradition or the awakening. And definitely in church, where it's like, all I got is Jesus, or I got Hamashiach, that's enough. Where if you go back, let's just start in the book of Numbers. Like we study Torah. Just look at Numbers. Look at how they begin to line up in the houses of their fathers. This is like, you can't be a part of the Israelite tradition or call yourself that if you speak evil of patriarchy, because it's all throughout the text. I do understand how it's been corrupted by the environment that we exist. However, it's not corruptible. It's not evil. It doesn't discount the role of the woman. It doesn't disempower the woman at all. It balances things out and it puts things in order. So if we look back at, Abraham, where it says, the most high say, will I, conceal this thing hide this thing from Abraham, the thing that I'm going to do, seeing that he's going to become a great and mighty nation. And because he will direct his family and his children after him. Everything that came from Abraham, he directed it in his same light, having the same consciousness, the same thought process, the same spirituality. It was given to them by Abraham. And that's what we're doing today. We're going back, we're reconnecting to that ancient vibration and not this whole modern thing that has us in the inferior position. And it keeps us in that very same inferior position, because you have to you gotta have someone that ultimately can answer. And that will be the man that the Father put there. So those are the things that we subscribe to, and that's kind of like where we are. This is why I'm talking about patriarchy so much. And I brought my wife on so that there's balance. And you see, like, are you oppressed? You beat down. You have
Not
to go.
by you, maybe by that job.
You know, you got a black eye. You know, you got makeup on because I've been beating you enough. You know, we don't do that. You know, so we want to just speak to the validity of and how we're centering this thing. Well, we didn't center it in prophecy. It's there. It's there that the heart of the Father is turning back to the children, and the children are turning back to their fathers.
Why do you think that it had to even be said?
Maybe because it was out of order.
Always, or he just knew it would get that way.
I think it was a combination of two, of the fact that, you know, our people, because he speaks through space and time. That
If women would just stay out of the way, it would naturally happen. If women would just, you know, I think Dr. Imogena says, you know, it's the mind of the black woman
that we're fighting
that
for.
we're fighting for, because we really control the temperature in the house.
Yes.
In the family, because, you know, we're the emotional one, we're the sensitive one, and we can affect and impact the children. She's also the person that said that molestation, the mother and the child,
Of the mind.
of the mind.
When,
But, you know, I think it's imperative that women understand the impact of our words and our actions, especially toward children. It can have the worst effect. You can be a very successful, you know, career person and just be messed up. I know it for a fact. I've seen it replicate itself a few times, where people, you know, because to them they're where they should be by societal standards. You know, they got the car, they got the house, you know, a couple of zeros in the bank, but their soul is just dead, and they don't even know. They don't desire righteousness. They don't understand the order of things, and they have no desire to learn either. So those are the people we're talking to.
That's a deadly combination.
We're not talking to you. So
that's a very deadly combination.
but it's the way that, you know, what's success.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
You know, how do you define those things?
Right.
Is it by a bank account? Are you doing what biologically your body wants to do month after month? And I'll just leave that, you know, there, where they convinced, you know, a lot of our women that, you know, you should go out and seek your career first. In your prime years, you out there doing everything that you can do to make a dollar bill, and then you try to settle down in your mid 30s, and now you've given all your prime years to the career, and now that biological clock is ticking.
There's so many women who are my age that are childless, and it wasn't because clearly you like men. You had a few, but it just never. It's just not a natural thing to me, because I think from a young child, little girls play with baby dolls because they want children. They see that's that modeling behavior that they've seen, and then to stop when you think you're limited in your options and you convince yourself that it's not something that you really want.
Yeah.
Now, not anything toward women who want and can't have, you know, may the Most High bless your womb and make these things happen for you.
Yes.
But for women who actually make that statement, I'm talking about those women that say, I don't want children or whatever. It's just very unnatural. And I know actually too many of them, you know, that were my age.
Right. And do you think that was a result of what they wanted naturally, or something they began to convince themselves based on, you know, that the thought system that says, one, you only need two children, get you a nice house, a picket fence, and a dog. Where like this system has a way of like telling you what it appreciates. Yeah, it puts you in a box of what you should do.
But you have more than 3 children, girl. You need to find another hobby.
You got too much. You
Find
got too many.
something to do.
Like who told you that I got too many? Where did you get that from?
I love big families. I wish, I had, and Most High gave them to me. I wanted 5, and I got, you know what I mean? Like, I had 6.
Yes,
I have another daughter. And it's just wonderful. I just, I never once, shunned anything from my husband.
Well, thank you.
It was always easy. It wasn't hard, if you just keep focused on the right thing.
And maybe next time we'll pick up on some of the elements of how social media is poisoning our people. But right now we just want to put bookends on it, in that what we're saying is very timely. That the heart of the fathers is turning back to the children. We're redefining our role in the home, and we're structuring our families the way that our ancestors did, unapologetically, not making any excuses. We're not going to allow this satanic thought system, global satanic thought system.
And here's to those of you who don't like it.
We're not going to allow that thought system to restrict us, to restrict our movement, to tell us how to move, when to move, where to move. We deny all those things. And we're coming back into agreement with the faith of our fathers.
And I think too, babe, this is, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
Go ahead.
I think moving away from the city.
Okay.
And being away from just being totally surrounded by that system gives you a chance to have some clarity.
But that's what the book says.
You have to go from amongst them.
Come out.
Otherwise, because right now, things in my mind are just not what they were when we got here. And I'm appreciative of that. I'm very clear. I'm very resolved. I'm very sober on some things.
You're not even picking up on the energy of your neighbor right here, your neighbor in front of you, your neighbor behind you. That's an energetic exchange.
What neighbor?
That's an energetic exchange that you may not even be aware of.
Right.
So, when the text tells us to come out of her, it's not, we do it psychologically, mentally, spiritually, but also geographically, like the location. And maybe you need to put a little bit of distance between you and your neighbors. So we're putting distance between us and our neighbors, as well as their thought system. We don't allow them to infringe upon us, to tell us what to do, what we do with our bodies, how we do it, when we do it, where we do it, what text to read, how to structure our families, what a husband's role is, what a black woman's role is. We're not doing none of that.
How you gonna arrange your children?
Oh, that's another video.
Okay, we'll do that one.
That one. And I had people tell me, you can't do that.
That's a good one.
What do you mean I can't arrange my children? It's already done.
I can do what I want.
Like, what do you mean? That don't work. Says who? But hold on, bro. You've been divorced,
right.
Like, what do you mean it can't? So, but you're advocating for something that hasn't worked for you.
What's that I smell? Rotten fruit.
Bad fruit. We don't want it. So, anyway, love y'all, family. The heart of the fathers is turning back to the children, and the heart of the children is turning back to the father. There is a beautiful symmetry that's occurring right now. There's a netting in the spirit that is occurring, and we thank the Most High that we are a part of it. We're in it. I give him all praise and glory and honor. Love the Most High. Thank him for his only begotten son. I thank him for just the beauty of the times that we're living in. It's troubling times, yet it is also beautiful times. Find that beauty, family. Love y'all. Shalom, shalom.